N'Kosi Perry, quarterback in Miami, entered the transfer portal a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Then he took himself out of the transfer portal. Please explain his playing status and school status.
Yeah, that was like right before we recorded last week and everything. So I waxed poetic about my guy, 5, for a while. And we went through and did some rankings just kind of off the top, on the fly of, if you were to rank N'Kosi as a starter or potential starting quarterback in Power 5, where would he land? I said, top 35, 30-ish, give or take. And yeah, I guess that's what he's going to have to try to do elsewhere. So the plan, I guess, has been reported by, well, I don't guess. The plan has been reported by multiple journalists. Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press, Susan Miller-Degman of the Miami Herald, and others. So I just gave you 3 names of 3 credentialed journalists who you should be reading and following, by the way. But those individuals, in addition to others, have reported that N'Kosi Perry is coming back to Miami to graduate this semester and then look to grad transfer elsewhere at a place where he can continue as a starter or compete for or get the starting job elsewhere and then play in the 2021 season. So, if he were coming back, like obviously you look at last week's episode, and I stand by everything that I said about him, obviously raising the floor, excuse my phone as it goes off. Raising the floor for the backup quarterback spot and all kinds of stuff like that. But if he's leaving to try to get a starting job, it makes sense, because again, I think he could be a top half of the Power 5 starter, especially if you're going to put him, he's going to land in a spot that runs a spread offense that fits his skill set. And I said this on the Basketball Conference podcast with Joey and Mike, some guys who Mark knows obviously as well, because they've contributed on some shows here previously. But, if N'Kosi Perry came off the bench cold and ran and played like he did in the bowl game, that has to be on the highlight film. And for me, we were talking about this when I recorded with them a couple of days ago, Mike said that performance was a top 3 for N'Kosi Perry at Miami. I said, absolutely. And your other 2 are 2018 Florida State and 2019 Virginia Tech. So that would be when led the comeback from 27-7 to win against Florida State in 2019. 18. And then spotted Virginia Tech a 28-point lead after one play into the second quarter, and then had a close comeback loss. I think it was 42-35 or 42-31, something like that, or 38. But balled out in that game, had over 300 yards and everything, and then this bowl game. But look, if you're coming off the bench and you play this well as he did in the bowl game, and again, his numbers could have been even better had there not been some of these rampant drops that we talked about from wide open receivers. His crooked numbers, he could have had another touchdown and another 160-ish receive or passing yards, But if I'm N'Kosi Perry, I'm going and I'm saying, look, this is what I did in a spread offense that was not built for me and not built to highlight what I do best 100%. It was built for De'Aaron King. De'Aaron King, unfortunately, gets injured. I came in and balled out. Now, I'm still 6'4". I can still run and shake guys out of their shoes. No, I'm not De'Aaron King running, but I can still move. And I got this cannon for a right arm. You saw what I did at Miami, filling in for somebody in somebody else's shoes in their spot. Think what I can do at your university in your offense tailored to what I do best. And you have these 3 games to show and prove the top end potential that he can have. 18 Florida State, 19 Virginia Tech, and 20 bowl game against Oklahoma State. Those are 3 big time games against 3 big time teams. And that would have to be, if I were creating the media package, if I were out here advertising and marketing for N'Kosi Perry to the portal, those are going to be there. This bowl game performance is going to be right at the top and say, again, I showed you what I can do. I can do that and more for you at this school if you buy into me, if you buy into what I can do and my skill set and tailor this offense towards what I do well, because you've already seen me do well in something that wasn't even 100% created for me. So I think that potentially is out there, and I stand by the ranking I said last week. Again, the top 25, or between 35 and 25 as a starting quarterback in the Power Five. I believe he has that kind of talent, whether it's here or anywhere. But unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be somewhere else, and I hope he lands somewhere and balls out, honestly. Because like I said, no matter if it's in orange and green or some other colors, N'Kosi Perry's my guy, and I'm going to root for him all the time.
Yeah, I am definitely right there with you on your evaluation of setting up N'Kosi against the rest of the ACC when we made that little project out of rating him against the starters in the ACC and against the rest of the Power Five. I also wonder what might have been had, and this might have something to do with N'Kosi Perry's approach or lack thereof to the game, or the commitment to practice, or whatever knocks against him there have been. I don't know. I've heard things, but we'll go with just what he showed on the field and the talent there. Had he been able to, at the point in which we already knew who Malik Rozier was and was not, we were about halfway through the 2018 season. And at that point, despite the lack of experience against a senior quarterback, N'Kosi Perry was so much more talented, and that had been displayed. And so in my estimation, at that point, the team was roughly 500, something in that range, about halfway through the season. There was a game against Virginia in which they got yanked back and forth, and he got yanked out of the game and back and forth. That was the time for N'Kosi Perry, considering his status in school versus Rozier's and what the approach I thought should have been to look toward the future. He should have just been the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. That's all.
I agree. No, I agree. And he should not have been pulled from the Virginia game. Mark Richt said that he did that wrong, first of all. And Perry got pulled after an interception. And I think he threw 2 or 3. But the last one, the wide receiver openly ran the wrong route. Like the receiver, and then said it. He's going over there, and you could see him. I remember like it was yesterday, and for a number of reasons. But he went to the sideline. The receiver went to the sideline, and the coaches are dressing him down because Perry made the right read and threw to where the side adjustment and the route should have been, and the receiver didn't go there. And obviously, then the defender, the safety is just there over the top, like, cool, bro, thanks. Like, it's almost like a fair catch on a punt. But yes, Perry threw it, but it wasn't necessarily his fault because the receiver was in the wrong place. This wasn't like in the bowl game in the 2017-18 Orange Bowl when Malik Rozier threw a slip screen directly to a Wisconsin defensive end who's 6'5", wearing all white jersey right in front of his face. The receiver needs to get there. The receiver wasn't there. You have eyes in your head, bro. I don't care about 1-2, let it go. You see that there's a guy where we're in all black and they're in all white. You know what I mean? Like light versus darkness, good versus evil. You see a guy wearing the opposite color. It wasn't even like both teams had orange and blue or blue and orange and green and green. It wasn't even like that. We had all black jerseys. They had all white jerseys. And you threw it directly to this guy. It wasn't even like that. He threw it where the ball should have been. The whole highlight review, they're on the screen telecast. Well, you can see why he threw it up the sideline because of coverage and da-da-da-da. And this is the cover 2 hole. And if the receiver would have run this route, but the receiver decided he was going to da-da-da-da, you can see that. And then Mark Richt yanked N'Kosi Perry. And that was one of the things, like I said, Mark Richt in the end didn't have the temerity to do what needed to be done. Because even though it wasn't necessarily great then, you need to stand by your guy at that point. And in the 2017 season, we saw Mark Richt stand by Malik Rozier. And it wasn't great, but it was smoke and mirrors. And the team ended up winning games. And you described that 100% to the quarterback play, and that was just false. But, then the variance of Perry's performance was so great, as in the highs were super high, but the lows, like we saw at Virginia, with a couple of interceptions, were low. And Mark Richt just didn't have the gumption to stick with the better player. And unfortunately, we've seen this at a bunch of schools, and unfortunately, of course, when with Miami in the recent past. But either way, in any case, I hope to see N'Kosi Perry put up some nice crooked numbers at somebody's school and just, do well for himself and his family and everything moving forward.
Another decision that Mark Richt made that I won't understand because he wasn't fearing for his job. He was comfortable in his job. He's the guy. He's not going to get fired at the end of the season. He doesn't need to eke out an extra win and go 7-5 versus 6-6. It's not going to matter. He needs to build a future. He's the guy.
Exactly. So why are you coaching scared? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.